Hayavadana, a play written by Indian playwright Girish Karnad, explores a tale of love, friendship, and the quest for identity. The narrative unfolds as two friends, Devadatta and Kapila, both deeply enamored with the same woman, inadvertently undergo a peculiar transformation where their heads are swapped. Blending comedy and tragedy, the play also delves into the story of a man with a horse's head, yearning to attain human form. Originally published in 1971, Hayavadana takes the audience on a captivating journey. The play commences with a puja, a worship ceremony to the deity Ganesha, seeking blessings for a successful performance. The Bhagavata, the worshipper of Ganesha, introduces the characters, emphasizing the significance of Devadatta and Kapila. Devadatta, a poet known for his sensitivity, stands in contrast to Kapila, the strong-willed son of an ironsmith. As the Bhagavata portrays these individuals, an alarmed actor interrupts the scene, describing a bizarre creature he has encountered. This creature, Hayavadana, enters the stage, bearing the body of a man with the head of a horse. The Bhagavata attempts to detach the horse's head from the human body, only to discover that it is indeed real. Hayavadana reveals his origin, born to a princess who fell in love with a horse. After 15 years together, the horse broke the curse and returned to his celestial form, while the princess chose to remain human. As a consequence of the curse, she gave birth to Hayavadana, bearing the amalgamation of man and horse. Urged by the Bhagavata, Hayavadana departs to seek transformation into a human at the temple of Kali. The story then shifts focus to Devadatta, who enters the scene expressing his profound love for a woman whose name and address he implores his friend Kapila to uncover. Devadatta's affection is so intense that he declares his willingness to sacrifice his head and arms to win her over. Kapila discovers the woman's residence and knocks on her door. Upon catching sight of Padmini, Kapila himself falls deeply in love with her. Believing that Padmini, a clever and astute individual, would fare better with a physically robust man like him, rather than the gentle poet Devadatta, Kapila grapples with conflicting emotions. However, Kapila informs Padmini about Devadatta's desire to marry her. Eventually, Devadatta and Padmini tie the knot, and several months later, Padmini becomes pregnant with their child. The trio plans a trip to Ujjain, but Devadatta harbors doubts due to his suspicions about Padmini's attraction to Kapila. Driven by jealousy, Padmini decides to cancel the journey, but changes her mind upon Kapila's arrival. Along their way, Padmini compliments Kapila, seemingly admiring his strong physique. During their travels, they pass by a temple, prompting Devadatta to fulfill his earlier promise of sacrificing an arm and his head to win Padmini's love. He leaves the duo and proceeds to sever his own head. Surprisingly, Kapila stumbles upon Devadatta and decides to do the same, beheading himself as well. Discovering her husband and his friend headless, Padmini contemplates ending her own life, but the goddess Kali intervenes. Kali instructs Padmini to reattach the heads, promising to restore them to their original state. Padmini hastily follows the deity's guidance, but in her haste, she mistakenly swaps the heads onto the wrong bodies. Upon returning home, the two men engage in a dispute over who is Padmini's rightful husband. Kapila's head argues that his body fathered Padmini's child, and that he accepted her hand in marriage. Devadatta's head counters, claiming that the head governs the body. Faced with this dilemma, Padmini chooses Devadatta's head as her husband. Subsequently, Devadatta visits a fair in Ujjain and purchases 2 dolls in anticipation of their child. He recounts to Padmini a wrestling match he had using Kapila's body, emphasizing his victory. Padmini later gives birth to their child, and the dolls serve as narrators, shedding light on the happenings within the household. Despite initially finding contentment with Devadatta's new body, Padmini's satisfaction diminishes as it gradually resembles his original form. She picks quarrels with Devadatta, and the dolls reveal her secret yearning for Kapila. During a journey to the forest alongside her son, Padmini stumbles upon Kapila, now residing in the wilderness. Just as Devadatta's body has weakened, Kapila has regained his former strength. Padmini reveals to Kapila that her son is, in fact, his child, since her husband possesses his body. She points out that their son bears a mole in the same spot as Kapila. Padmini decides to stay in the woods with Kapila for several days. Meanwhile, Devadatta sets out to search for Padmini and eventually finds her with Kapila. The two men engage in a fight that ultimately results in their demise. Knowing the situation, Padmini instructs Bhagavata to take her son to hunters and inform them that he is Kapila's child. After 5 years, the boy is to be presented to Devadatta's father, claiming he is Devadatta's son. Padmini reveals her intention to commit sati, lying on her husband's funeral pyre. At this moment, Hayavadana, now transformed into a horse, enters the scene. Padmini's son is present as well, but he remains silent and devoid of laughter. When Hayavadana asks Kali to make him complete, she grants his request, but instead of becoming entirely human, he turns into a complete horse. The boy's laughter is triggered by the story, and he sings along with Hayavadana, who desires a horse's voice. Hayavadana sheds tears, and the boy encourages him to continue laughing. Gradually, Hayavadana's laughter begins to resemble a horse's neigh. The play concludes with a celebration dedicated to Ganesha, expressing gratitude for the success of the performance. Girish Karnad derived inspiration for the play from Thomas Mann's novella, The Transposed Heads, as well as from the Sanskrit text Kathasaritagara, dating back to the 11th century. Hayavadana incorporates the traditional Indian theatre form called yakshagana, incorporating specific styles in its music, costumes, dances, and designs. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.